All right. Okay, first I want to thank everyone for showing up and dedicating some time to us this morning. My name is George Eshnaur, and I am a online faculty member for Ottawa University. And today's topic is kind of online pedagogy, but I'm hoping that it's more of a two-way street where we discuss best practices. I'm going to show you some stuff that I'm working on for training and development to kind of pick everyone's brain so that I can kind of figure out where I'm going with the training and development piece in the portal. So I want it to be effective for our adjunct faculty as well as our full-time faculty. So yeah, I guess we'll just go ahead and jump in. So today's topic is online pedagogy, and like I said, training is going to be a loose word for what we're doing today. It's much more just about just brainstorming some ideas and sharing what we do well, some of the successes. I'm glad Corrine and April are here because I'm going to show what April developed in Blackboard as open source resources and things like that we can utilize in the classroom. So I think we're all kind of aware in the online environment that it's different than face-to-face. AJ's here with me, and he teaches face-to-face, so it'll be interesting to share with him what works online. Right. Because we can utilize it in the classroom and online. So what I like to think, for me personally, is teaching for what I call digital moments, where we create a kind of mutual relationship with the students so that they feel more comfortable in such a static environment that is our online. I'm going to go ahead and mute everybody. So if you want to say something, just make sure you click the mute button. That way we don't have any crossover with the sound. So again, I like to phrase it digital moments. I'm going to show you what I do in like my classrooms for Blackboard to kind of create a more connected environment with my students. I feel that it does work well with some students. Other students, they will resist us, as they always do. But it's really about building relationship with the support and resources the student needs and that we also need as instructors. To build credibility and trust with them, I think that is important. So, so that's kind of the opening salvo. So what I would like to do is I'm going to screen share what I do in my classroom, and I hope that you all can jump in and share what you do as well. So let me get out of here. Okay, so you should be seeing my Blackboard shell for writing critical thinking, which is the first course our students take. Some of you are probably familiar with it. So what I like to do is each week I will post video announcements that breaks down the material, the assignments, wraps up the prior week, things like that, so that as we know, students learn in different modalities. So if a student just wants to come up here to the sorry, this is so slow, to the week 5 materials and just read about it without watching my video, they can do so. But my hopes are that with my video announcements that maybe I will reach some of the other students that need a little more clarification on the topics at hand, the assignments, the feedback, things like that. So what I also try to utilize is kind of guidance-based videos, how to use Microsoft Word and the library, the online library for citations, things like that. So these are some of the examples that I utilize in my classroom. I also do virtual office hours. Has anyone out there held office hours or done any meetings like that? Say like Collaborate. Has anybody utilized that?
I have a course, this is Greg, I have a course that uses Collaborate as part of the syllabus. Yes, we've done that.
And how's that worked for you so far?
3 areas. One is you've got time zone issues. for scheduling. So somebody that on the East Coast is going to be three hours, ahead of the West Coast. The other is always the technology, whether it's their local bandwidth. I've had some bandwidth issues with some students. Also, and then the third thing is do they have the technology, the microphone, and are they competent with it? And there's been some struggles to bring people along. And then probably the last thing is sometimes I forget to record.
That is big, because then you can share it with the class, the rest of the class, right? I mean, you can just pump it right into the classroom and share it with everyone. Yeah. Good.
Oh, and another point about that is I do make it, although it's set up as an item for which they earn points, there's no real agenda other than to amplify some of the material. That's what I choose to do, and then try to turn that around and answer some of their questions and give them some guidance of what's coming up.
And Greg, what sort of classes do you teach?
I'm an IT faculty, so this would be, I think, the course on, I'm trying to remember which one. I think it's the database class.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's the intro to database, yeah.
Okay, so you've seen the benefits of utilizing that in the classroom. Now personally, I've tried to use Collaborate multiple times, or even the virtual office hours, but they're so rarely attended. So my experience has been a little different, and that's kind of what hopefully others will share if their successes with that, or if they've also experienced what I have, which is just a lack of participation.
Well, yeah, attendance is spotty, and I've also had small classes, small number of students. And one of the assignments is actually a presentation by the student to their classmates. And what I chose to do was break that into 2 sessions to give them an option to assure that they can attend one of those, simply to complete the assignment. So it becomes a little more administratively challenging for me to work out who's on which meeting.
Okay, great. Does anybody else have any experience with Collaborate or office hour type? Nope. Okay.
All right. Hi, this is Lisa. I'm actually going to let you see me bright and early in the morning here. I've used Blackboard Collaborate in the new instructor orientation course. It's one of the options that we can use in that course, and it works out really well. It also gives the new instructors an opportunity to see what Blackboard Collaborate is all about.
Great.
And how they can integrate that into the classroom. Even though their class may not require it like Greg's did. I also have tried using it in other courses. I teach psychology, so I've attempted to use it, but I've run into similar problems as Greg, where there's a lot of folks that have a difficult time downloading the software program, just understanding all of the different features. So we spend a few minutes talking about that in the beginning, and then we can go ahead and use my PowerPoints and get into the subject. Because it's not one of my required assignments, it's always optional. And so attendance is always shoddy, like Greg was talking about. But what I've tried to do is send out a Survey Monkey to be able to see what would be the best time for everyone involved in that class, so that I can get a larger number of attendance based on the feedback that I'm getting from the Survey Monkey product that I use to try to figure out that time zone issue. So several students have attended when I've done that. They really like to have this type of one-on-one with their instructor and with the other students in the class above and beyond what they're doing in the discussion. So I think it's a really awesome feature that we have available in Blackboard.
Great. Okay, excellent. Pop out of here. And so I believe, Kareen, there is a new Collaborate, right? I mean, that's what's pumped into all the shells.
Yeah, that's right. It's the most current version. If you haven't tried Collaborate recently, in the last probably getting close to a year, maybe 8 to 10 months, we have a whole new version in there. And there's quite a few supports in the resource room for learning how to use it, and every course has it built in by default. So I would say to all of you, just jump in there and click that button that's on the bottom of your menu, on the left menu, and play around in there. It's getting easier and easier to use, and it has more and more features all the time. So I'd love to see people taking advantage of it, and I'm glad you brought it up, George.
Yeah, it's a good tool to utilize. I haven't used the new one. The old one was a little bulky, and but the new one sounds like it's a lot more efficient for interaction. So yeah, I would encourage everybody to check that out and at least give it a try, because you know, like Greg has had some success with it. Hopefully we can implement more of that in the online courses. So,
you know, one thing I would add, this is Greg again, one thing I would add is in scheduling those, being in Arizona, we're ultra sensitive to time zone changes, or, you know, daylight savings time. And so I've had to say, okay, they're scheduling this according to Ottawa time, but I've literally had to say, this is what it means in California, this is what it means in Atlanta, to specify. I've had people be an hour early or an hour late because of confusion over that issue, starting with scheduling it when I, you know, because of you know, of Phoenix being the outlier here.
Yeah, you guys have it nice. You don't spring forward or fall backwards. So
I've noticed that as well. And being in Hawaii, it's only 6 a.m. here. I'm like Arizona. Arizona and Hawaii are the only two states that don't believe in daylight savings time. And so usually when I set up the SurveyMonkey, I try to set it up on Central Time or Eastern Time, because most of the United States is really used to that. And then I also, Greg, one of the things that I've done is I've broken it down. So if it's, you know, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, that's 8 p.m. Central Time, 7 p.m. Mountain Time, you know, 6 p.m. Arizona time, 6 p.m. Phoenix time, and then it's only 3 p.m. in Hawaii. So, but that way it really helps the students, just a thought, Greg, to really understand what Ottawa time is and comparing that to where they are located in the country. And so it makes it a little bit easier. Now that's in the announcement, but the SurveyMonkey only allows us to do it, I believe, in one time zone. However, I also believe there's an option in SurveyMonkey to change it to their time zone, because I know that I've done my own SurveyMonkeys, and that has really helped, Greg. Just a thought to try to help with that scheduling.
Yeah, I've done that. And then when I reschedule, you know, for whatever reason, somebody says, "Oh, I had a, you know, have a meeting or whatever," then I get to do the calculating, and hopefully, I'm sober at the time.
Hopefully. Okay, so everyone out there, so we've touched on Collaborate. I showed you, you know, I do video announcements. Does anybody else out there, do you do any video announcements, any video feedback on essays, or do you strictly stick with embedded notes? Just kind of curious as to what others might do.
This is Anne. I do some video announcements. I
Great.
just kind of add a few in. I usually have started doing a welcome at the beginning of the course. Students seem to like that.
Yes. Okay, great, Anne. Thank you.
I do regular announcements, but I've never done it. I wouldn't know how to do a video announcement. Is it just a matter of clicking on something and then pointing the camera at you, and it's...
It can be. Well, I'm glad, you know, I think Blackboard did away with the, let me just check. Karina, might be faster just to ask you, but I think they did away with the built-in webcam, didn't they?
Yeah, that option. Actually, it wasn't Blackboard that did away with it. It had to do with Google/YouTube and how they access cameras. So that's no longer an option.
Yeah, that thing was awful anyway, so I'm glad that's gone. So what I do is I record my videos via Zoom is what I do, and then I dump it in the YouTube, and then so when we go in here, and I still TED Talks quite a bit. Oops, sorry everybody.
You put it into YouTube?
I do. I have.
Okay.
I built my own YouTube page just for my video announcements for all my classes. So
Okay.
that's where I house everything, and that way, you know, when I send out my announcement, the video is not in your email, but I always attach my link because some students just work out of their emails. They don't.
Yeah.
You know, that's where they check their announcements. But yeah, it just goes straight to YouTube, and they're only, you know, 5-minute breakdowns of prior week, what we're getting ready to do, things like that. So. That's really what I utilize. I know you can use different things, but that's always been the easiest for me.
Yeah.
When we do that. Oops. Okay. So hopefully, I think that's more of a focus in our phase 1 training now with bringing on new online adjuncts is teaching them how to do that. So that's part of that phase 1. Okay, so some of the other things, and I'm great. April, are you out there?
Yeah, I am.
All right. So April Robbs developed this, and I wanted to share this because this should be on everyone's Blackboard page, but it's resources for online teaching and course development. Some of it is directly for subject matter experts, but there's a lot of great resources in here for open source material. I don't know if April, if you want to go through some of this, or if you would prefer me to kind of share and I don't know what your thoughts are. I don't want to put you on the spot, but.
Well, I'm on my phone on Zoom,
Oh,
so
okay.
roll it. But I can tell you kind of the 2 places that I would suggest or highly recommend looking at first. The first one's probably that selecting course materials.
Okay.
And then in here, there's a whole bunch of folders about different topics. You've got copyright and videos and open educational resources. The articles and websites one's not very robust, but so you can go into the individual topical folders for like more information and different websites to find those materials.
Mm-hmm.
But if you just want like a quick place to get everything, if you go back to the selecting course materials area. That top folder, the search tips and quick links, that has all of the website resources for copyright, for articles, for videos, and all of that stuff. So
Great.
it's kind of one stop there.
Yes, so this is a great resource for everyone. And I wanted to make sure that I shared this today because there's so much information out there that's open source now, and that we can find basically videos that we can put in. You know, it's simple for like AJ, Khan Academy for finance classes, things like that, TED Talks. Let me see if I can. I think it's Lumen that I've used. Yes. Okay. So, for instance, this one, for some of the history courses that I've taught, I can just break it down. U.S. history, OpenStax, and then it has all sorts of additional information that I can couple with what I've already built into, or what I was already built into the class. So, whatever the subject may be, I can find additional resources here and share that with the students. So, what April built in this is very useful for finding and utilizing extra material to kind of knowledge share, since online knowledge sharing is a little bit different. You know, the traditional knowledge sharing from whiteboard to student doesn't really fit with us online. So we have to find and direct them to new areas, and that's kind of what I utilize. For instance, in my history classes, I utilize this resource quite a bit. But there's all sorts of things. I encourage you to check this out. Again, it's right down here. And that should be for everyone.
George, not
No?
everyone. Not everyone. No, I wonder if maybe we could kind of bulk enroll the instructors in it. I'm not sure. We tried to make a self-enroll option, but I'm not sure if it works properly.
Okay.
I'm looking at a course here trying to find that page, that set of resources. I'm not
Well, great.
Yeah.
Great. I shared something that you can't utilize. Excellent.
Yeah, cool.
No, you can.
Well, then I'll put that on my agenda to figure out how to, hopefully we can do that. I guess it does come down to whether the academic technology can make that happen or not. But if it requires you all to, enroll in that, I can get that figured out, and then Andrea can send that out to everyone. So I apologize if you can't use that yet.
Well, I'll work with Matt and see if we can figure out an easy way to do that. But I think I have directions for the self-enroll, so I'll be in touch.
Okay, I apologize. I just thought that was on everyone's Blackboard. That's my fault.
George, it was originally designed for people who are serving as subject matter experts as a library of resources. But there is no reason, it doesn't have to be a secret. It was just, that's how it started.
Okay.
But if there are, it's kind of a playground. It's like a candy store really of stuff. But if you can't really put it in your course, it can be a little frustrating, but I suppose you can find resources and add them in as announcements and that kind of thing. And or, work with us if you see a tool that you really think would be great for your course. We'd love to try to work with you to incorporate that. So it's definitely not a secret. It's just an overwhelming library of stuff that we didn't really want to, tease you with it and then say, oh, well, but you can't actually have that. So that's how it started, was to help us help our subject matter experts find viable resources.
Yeah, and I use it quite a bit, so that's why I apologize. I thought that was open to everybody. So, but we'll figure that out and go from there. But yeah, if we can get that open, I encourage everyone to check that out and utilize it. Okay. All right. My next question then for everyone, it would be, what sort of resources do you use to expand the discussion or the learning environment itself? Does anybody utilize one specific thing that works really well? Not everybody at once.
One of the things that I've found that has been a lot of, I have noticed a lot of difference is when I change the subject line. For example, in the discussions, it usually says prompt 1, prompt 2, prompt 1, prompt 2.
Hold on. All right, and then Lisa, unmute yourself, and then we should be okay.
I'm back. So one of the things that I've noticed is when I go in and set up my course, if I notice that all the different discussions just say prompt 1, prompt 2, I won't remove that because that's something that is obviously established by Ottawa, but I will go ahead and add the topic line. So if it's cultural issues or whatever that prompt is talking about, I'll do that. The other thing that I've done is I've begun to incorporate videos, adding extra materials, whether that be an article or something of the sort, a photograph of a chart of one particular theory, because I do teach psychology, and then I change the subject line in my response. So instead of having it be the same old discussion 1, prompt 1, it'll say, how would you feel about using this theory with your clients, or whatever it is that the question I'm asking. And it really helps encourage a lot more students to become involved rather than just the student that I'm responding to, and just helps create providing more visuals and more of the additional materials that we want to provide students above and beyond what we have available in the lecture notes and our announcements. So it's something that I've done to just bring a little bit of flair into the discussion assignments and the discussion boards.
Excellent.
Following along with that, with human services, we often ask for examples from their experience, and that too, when the students respond to each other's experiences, it's fun because they're all having different experiences in the field.
Yes. Yeah, I taught a planning and budgeting course a couple terms ago, and thank goodness everyone had professional experience because the discussion posts were based on professional experience. If it had been 19-year-olds, I'm not sure the discussion would have proceeded the way that it had, but everyone had really good ideas to share when it came to organizational change. So, okay, anyone else? Okay, well then I'm going to.
Hey George,
Yes.
this is Matt Filo with
Matt?
There was one thing, since we're talking about discussions, I was wondering if people were interested in. There is a plugin for the Firefox browser developed by Liberty University that actually will provide you with a word count for highlighted text in the discussion board. Does that sound like something that people might be interested in using?
Anyone?
So are you saying that it's showing us the count, like how many words that they've actually written?
Yes.
Does that correlate with the grading rubrics?
Oh, well, I mean, it doesn't correlate with them. It's not like connected to them in any way. It's just a way for you to know the number of words that are in a given post, because I know that in some places in the course, students are directed to post a discussion, a response between 150 and 200 words for some of these courses. So that would be a quick way to count that if you were looking for something like that.
Right, and so this is Lisa Lincoln again. If I would love that. I would love to have that because some of the grading rubrics do ask for a certain number, or the directions ask for a certain number of words, and oftentimes I'm finding myself putting it into another system called word count, or putting it into a Microsoft document just to be able to see. So I'm constantly copying and pasting. So if that would be able to be shown in Blackboard, that would be terrific.
Yeah, I'll post a link to it in the chat.
Matt, you indicated that was for Firefox, as if it's maybe not for another browser. And what are people choosing to use as their primary go-to browser for Ottawa?
Firefox.
I guess it's time I changed.
Isn't that what you've always recommended, Karine?
Yes, that is in fact what we've always recommended. We have run into a few snags with it, but I just have some kind of concerns about using Chrome just in terms of privacy and data collection and things like that. Although Chrome does work better for some things. We've had a little bit better luck with Collaborate with Chrome, but it's getting better and better in Firefox all the time. So, you know, I guess if you're not a Firefox fan, you can always just jump over to Firefox to do your grading of discussions. But yes, for many, many years, Firefox was really the only browser we supported. That has become more stable over time, but it, you know, for a long time it was really hard to keep up with all the different browsers and browser versions and operating systems and versions of Blackboard, and it just became a nightmare. But it has gotten a little stabler more in more recent years, so it's not an absolute requirement that you use Firefox, but that is what we prefer to support.
Great.
I've noticed that when you talked about Chrome and how sometimes using Blackboard Collaborate is easier in the Chrome, but I'm like you. I tend to avoid Chrome unless I absolutely have to get on there. I like Firefox. I've gotten very accustomed to it, but some students and have difficulty downloading the Chrome with Firefox. Other than that, it runs very smoothly. I wouldn't use anything else.
I'm a face-to-face teacher, but and I use Zoom, and it will be online at some point, I'm sure. I just put in my notes, Firefox is the best browser for what we do on Ottawa. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. That's what I thought I had interpreted that correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. So here is where I'm going to pick your brains. All right. So Karen Bryson, who is on here, and I are part of a committee for faculty development. And one of the things that I have been tasked with is developing resources for our faculty and adjuncts. I'll just call everyone faculty because that's what you are. But so I have my own developed list of things that we should probably put in here. But I'm more curious as to what you all want in there. If you want, just basic information. Sorry. Oh, there we go. That's email. Okay. If you want documentation, if you want videos with documentation, just kind of breaking down what would help you be more successful as a faculty member. Now, again, this doesn't have anything to do with Blackboard or training there. I want to be really clear with that. This is just more about development for you professionally, what sort of resources you would like to see in there. So this is where I wanted to open it up to you all and really start to have that discussion.
George, this is Jerry.
Yes.
Yeah, I would be interested in kind of the, whatever the latest research papers might be in a particular area. I like to, I have more confidence in using those as more of a base foundation than, a lot of the stuff that's out there now, although some of it is good. But I think, actual research papers from academic sources, I would really like to get my hands on.
Great. And see, I wasn't sure that would be something people would want to utilize. Like, well, I don't want to come here to read papers, but if people will utilize that, then absolutely we can. I can definitely house that and keep everything up to date.
Great.
Other thoughts?
I'm almost feeling like as April or Matt or whomever, I'm sorry, this is Mary Alice, April or Matt or whomever are developing new tools in Blackboard or anywhere, that we have a way that everyone gets information on those tools, because it feels like it's just either the SMEs or the instructors for those particular courses that get to learn those tools. So if we could just have a general way through those resources that everybody could have access to those tools, that would be my only suggestion.
Okay.
Hi, Mary Alice. This is Karina, and thanks for that suggestion. Do you have a specific example? I guess I'm not quite following what tools you might have become aware of that you don't have access to. I think you're still muted.
Muted, Mary.
Thank you. Like when April and I were doing the social policy course with debate, and we were doing the thread, and I'm blanking on the right name.
VoiceThread.
Thank you. The next person that then went to teach that class had to, familiarize themselves with VoiceThread. So if there was a way when something is added like that to a course that, then everybody gets to understand what that is.
I see. Well, the flip side of that is that we show it to everyone and it isn't in their course, then that's kind of not very nice. Here's a toy, but you can't have it. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's a dilemma that we have, and we have not had, just overall haven't had resources for training and documentation for years. So I'm happy to see that George and company are taking steps in that direction. But in terms of having other people learn new tools, it seems to me that it wouldn't be useful to them if it weren't in their course. And so you're right, when a new person comes along and they do have to learn that tool, it's probably just going to have to come along with the territory of learning how to teach that course. If that course has a specific tool that is unique, you're in human services and that tool is specific to your needs. We use that tool in courses where students need to record or practice speech and communication and things like that. So it isn't even, it's not used in all of our disciplines at this point. So, but if you have other examples, I mean, we're certainly, it's partly a bottleneck in terms of just course development and adding these new tools as they come along and seem appropriate for the discipline. It just takes time to integrate all of those. That's why we finally just went ahead and put Collaborate in every course shell, because we didn't have time to teach everyone how to use it. But it's not rocket science, and it's there. And if you want to use it for your students, just click the button and play around. You can't break it.
That makes sense. Thanks.
Instead of waiting to take time to integrate it into every course and into the syllabus and, make everybody learn to use it because it's in all their courses, it never would have happened. So we just put it in there. But some tools like VoiceThread, that wouldn't be appropriate for.
Got it. Okay, thanks.
Okay. John, we got your chat. So you're saying you'd like these best practices, video announcements. Okay, so how to utilize those or implement them in the classroom is what you're saying there, I assume. Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. Any other thoughts there? And again, like I said, this area, Corrine needs like 2 more people on her team so that they can have do Blackboard trainings and things like that, but I know they're just stretched thin. But for this area, like I said, it's not about Blackboard. It's about other resources that would help you be more effective in the online environment.
Yeah, this is Greg. I've recently been through some trainings in the area of faculty development, and a couple that come to mind, which kind of apply anywhere, but one is diversity. As it relates to online, we are bringing possibly an on-ground experience in the sense of our body language, and certainly our spoken language if we're using Zoom, and our choice and our awareness is, that of the impact of culture in being in the diverse classroom. Another one is just generally knowing more about assessment of as it relates to, and I'm sure you've thought of this, but it relates to learning objectives and outcomes from the university. It helps guide the faculty, I think, to say, hey, this is where my course or my learning objectives of this course fit into the bigger picture. If there's some way to show the bigger picture, those might be useful as just strengthening the faculty members' presence in the classroom.
Okay, great. So then a question for you all. In your experience, then, would you prefer to have a laid out document, say, for if, like what John mentioned, would you prefer a document where it just takes you step by step on how to post a TED Talk into your announcement? Or would you prefer a video in conjunction with that? These are the discussions that I'm having with Joyce Caldwell as to what sort of direction you all would like. Is it as simple as just a paper document? Is that what you prefer? Or, I mean, does that matter to anybody?
Well, simple appeals to me, and probably appeals to you too from a development point of view. Personally, I'd recommend you start with that and see what kind of response you get. I think a lot of us are, we have skills we've developed over time and through others' experiences, and paper might do the job for us.
I really like the resources available in the resource room when it comes to Blackboard and all of the materials available on My Ottawa. I think it's wonderful and covers quite a bit. I do a lot of mentoring, and so I show my mentees how to access that information once we're done. And I also walk them through step by step with the different directions on how to add the extra information, how to make links live in their announcements or make them live in the discussion assignments. And they really seem to enjoy to have that step by step. We both sit down at the computer at the same time, showing them where the different icons are, and they enjoy that. So I think a video would be terrific, but I also have other instructors that prefer to have it in written format. And I think that that's typical for students as well, which is why we offer transcripts of videos and other options based on the diversity and their learning styles. So great ideas.
Okay. Would a discussion forum, I can build that in there. Is that something, do you feel you would utilize or even check, you know, on a turn-by-turn basis or once a month, anything like that?
When you're saying check, what do you mean by check?
So let me share here one more time. I apologize. It's all in my head, so I assume you guys get it too, but never mind. Okay, so in this area, we can develop basically anything we want. We can do handouts, we can do videos, so it would be something similar to this. Right now, it's a blank slate, other than what's on my Word document. Inside here, we can create content managers, and in here we can create basically a discussion forum just like you would have in Blackboard, except it's built into the portal. So if someone has a question from like a mentee perspective, they could post it in there and people would be able to respond and share ideas and concepts in that format. Does that make sense?
It does, and I like that idea because it's also a place that we can show, and for all of us as instructors, somewhere to go in case we forget that information, especially since our instructors are not necessarily teaching back-to-back, especially our adjunct. And so sometimes they might forget the information that's reviewed in the new instructor orientation as well as with their mentor. And so I like to be able to provide them with as many documentations. And then, of course, you know, I let them know that just because we're done with our relationship as a mentor-mentee, that my email is still alive and awake, and so is my phone number, so they can always call. But I think for them to have those resources to tap into on their own and their own time would be very beneficial for all of us.
Okay.
Yeah, George, this is Jerry. I agree with what Lisa just said. Especially, and Lisa was my mentor, and I learned a lot of things working with Lisa that I probably wouldn't have otherwise. I wouldn't have seen or perhaps come across. So I got really good information, and I got it very efficient. So this idea of a kind of a chat room, I like, because there are, especially online, teaching online, there are folks out there that have a lot more experience than I do teaching online, and I would love to be able to continue to tap into that experience and that wisdom.
Okay, great.
Yeah, we had something called the faculty resource course or something like that in Blackboard. It was a course that we enrolled all the faculty into probably 4 years ago or so. Some of you that have been here around maybe 5 years, it was when Karen Wendergem was in charge of the design studio. My apologies. Faculty just didn't go there. It just kind of languished. It didn't stay fresh. People asked questions and then other people didn't go in and respond. So I don't know if the functionality on the My Ottawa portal is different in some way, but I think at the very least, the functionality that should have been used in Blackboard is the option to subscribe to a forum, and I don't know if you all are familiar with that. option, but if you subscribe to a forum, then you'll get an email notice when someone's posted something, as opposed to having to run out to Blackboard every so often and seeing if anything is in there, because then obviously the conversation can't flow. So I would encourage you, George, to see what is available in My Ottawa, if that's the route you decide to go, for people to know that there's actually an active conversation or question happening.
Yeah, and that's my fear too, Corrine, I think on the surface it's a great idea. I'm just not sure how many people would utilize it. But if we can do it in such a way that we can set it up to where people do subscribe to it, and then they get an email notification if there's a discussion happening, that would be the best way to go about it.
And the other thing I would just lift up is, I don't know if you all have made use of the documentation that's already there. That's what Lisa was referring to, I'm pretty sure. And you get to it from the resource room, and there are, I don't know, 20 or 30 documents already available. So it's not like there's nothing. It's just, and Matt's been working on getting those updated. So we'll coordinate, George, so that we're not working at cross purposes, but there is quite a bit of stuff already out there. So I would encourage you to explore that by going to the resource room, which actually links over to My Ottawa, and you can search by topic, you know, assignments or gradebook or whatever, and find some handouts that way too.
Yes, a lot of that stuff will be linked into other areas. That way we don't have to have it in multiple spots. It'll just be a click and it'll take you to the other area inside the portal, or in that resource room, like you said.
Yeah, the resource room is just a link over to the portal. The documents actually live on the portal. You can get to them more than one way. It's just handy if we just make it easy for you to get to it from inside of Blackboard.
The other thing that we can do, I'm Karen Bryson, I'm one of the full-time faculty members, is that if we do set up a discussion board, we can make sure that the four of us, the full-time faculty members, are in there on a regular basis. So if adjunct faculty members are posting questions, that one of us will definitely be in there to answer it. Even if other peers aren't necessarily in there all the time, we can make sure that we're frequently going in there and answering people's questions.
Yeah, and the launch of this would be communicated, I believe, from Andrea, so everyone would be notified. And then, to me, it's an opportunity, it's a blank slate to kind of develop however we want to do it, and that's where I want to, that's why I wanted to get your input on what would work best for you all, because, you know, Karen and I, we do this all day, every day, and so it's a little easier for us to know where things are at with Ottawa University than it is for people who teach once every couple of terms. So we want to make sure that it's utilized appropriately for you all. So any of those ideas that come here or later, feel free to share those, because it's really a blank slate. It's kind of exciting that we get an opportunity to develop this however we see fit. Okay, you know, the Ottawa Faculty Wiki, I think that's a great one. That'll a good option to utilize. Anything else? Okay. All right. And some of the things that I have on my list are just day-to-day tasks, basic policies. We'll go into some andragogy and documentation like that. And then one topic that was brought up to me with another faculty member was kind of a consultation service. We're all supposed to, we have a certain format where things are supposed to go from, if you have ideas, you share it with lead faculty and they kind of take it from there. This idea would be almost if adjuncts feel that course material or something can be added to the class, how do they go about doing that? So we want to share that information and kind of be the steward there, I guess, of guiding you all in the right direction if you have suggestions for improvement to classes, even development of, I guess, new courses. Like I've had some discussions with other faculty members of how do we go about creating new classes, and it is a strange process because it doesn't seem to be going anywhere, at least for me. But hopefully that makes sense. But bounce ideas off each other, identify assessment and result options, and go through that. So then we have. Okay.
I've always recommended that faculty that has suggestions for improvements in course revisions use the faculty course reporting form, and that way it can be dispersed, because I absolutely love that form. It's one form, it goes wherever it needs to go. I love Kareem's team, and so I've just always suggested to them to use that, because then Kareem and her team can tuck that away in their suggestions for future revisions for whoever is going to be doing that revision. So is that the right way to do it, or should I be?
Nope, you're right on. It's perfect.
Yep.
And I appreciate the plug. Yeah, that's great. And we have some, all of you, I mean, I don't know all of you, but I certainly recognize a lot of names. And you've given us input over the years. And I, for one, really appreciate the time you take to do that, because obviously you get paid to teach one by one and not necessarily paid to help us make it better. And so the time you take to give us your insights is really, really appreciated. I can't always promise that we'll be able to implement your suggestion. But I just want you to know that we really do appreciate that you are proactive about giving us those suggestions.
All right, Billy, I think you just sent that over.
Oh, and if you don't know where to find that, it is right on the My Ottawa portal on the OU Help tab. It's the same form that you use when you find something wrong when you do a checklist before the course begins. It's the standard form.
Right, and it's also located in the resource room too, because we have two ways of getting in there, which I think is terrific, by the way.
So Billy, let me see. I'm not sure if you're on the phone. I have unmuted you. So for this idea that you put in the chat, would this come from like the formal periodic progress report? Would that come from just you or the faculty, or would that be something you think Ottawa would generate?
In case Billy's having to type out his answer, George, do you feel comfortable talking about the academic advising process so that our adjuncts understand that we do have support and intervention and people that are paying attention?
Yeah, yes. I know that sometimes, let's say for instance, someone is participating in class and just doing moderately or poorly in the class. They may slip through the cracks with the academic advisors, but the academic advising team does check each week people who have been marked absent, or they get if they've been marked absent twice or 3 times, then they are getting alerted to that. So they are reaching out to those students when that happens. But like I said, if a student is in class and is being marked present and doing well or poorly, they will not probably be notified by the advisor outside of the regular communication schedule.
They do also get, the advisors also get a report every day that shows the last time the student did any number of things that can't constitute engagement, such as discussion posting, assignment submission, blog post, those kinds of things. So even if it's a week until you get to mark them absent or not, they do know when the last time was a student had engaged, and all of our academic advisors can peek into the course. So they have access to see what's going on, everything except the discussion forums. Because of FERPA, they are not allowed to see the discussion forums. They're only allowed to see the work, the course itself, and the work of any student that is their direct advisee. So they can see what the student has submitted for an assignment, they can see what grade you gave them, they can see what feedback you gave them. So we do have that available So I feel pretty confident that we should have a reasonable support. I would say to Billy and everyone, if you feel like you would like an advisor to reach out to one of your students that seems to be struggling, there are multiple ways you can find out who that student's advisor is. And there is a document in the, if you go to the resource room and go to the faculty resources, the training documentation that we have there's a document in there that explains how you can contact the student's advisor. The simplest way, I think, is just right inside the grade book. You click the checkbox by their name, and then up at the top somewhere it says send email, and you can send it to the student's advisor, the student and the advisor at the same time. So you do have a way to alert someone if you feel like a student would benefit from some support from their advisor.
Yes, that's good to hear, Angela. Yeah, for instance, the main class I teach is the first class students take, writing critical thinking, and I know I send reports the first 2 weeks to the enrollment team and the advising team saying, Jane has not done discussion posts or hasn't turned in her lab, and they reach out as kind of a backup, because if they're not participating in class, it's unlikely they're going to respond to an email from us. So I try to go a different route. So yeah, don't ever hesitate to reach out to an advisor, because they have been they're very helpful in that process.
I couldn't agree with you more. They're fantastic. And they actually really appreciate it when instructors reach out and you know, take that extra step to go above and beyond. And it really helps with retention. And it really helps the students realize that they can be successful even though they may have gotten behind a little bit.
Right. It's very easy for them to just give up when they get behind a week or two, instead of saying, okay, well, you know, reach out and try to find a solution with your instructor. We're here to help. I mean, basically, the message is pretty simple, in my opinion. But okay.
George, something I would like to see. I'm not sure that all of the adjunct faculty members are aware that each one of us full-time faculty members is actually assigned to be their mentor throughout their time at Ottawa. So something that you might want to consider is having a page where you just have maybe our photo and our contact information, and letting them know what the mentor program is and that we're always available to them if they have any kinds of issues. I know a lot of times they're going to Andrea or Joyce, the dean, for online, and Joyce and Andrea are just going to send them right back to us anyway. So instead of, you know, taking that extra step, informing them that, you know, they can come to us anytime and we can assist them.
Yeah, Jerry and I had to work together recently, didn't we?
I would also think, I would love to have that list. As a mentor myself, I'm not a full-time faculty, I'm adjunct. So that would be really great for me to have a list of that information so that I can share that with my mentors, mentees. I just call them colleagues. But, you know, they know that I'm available to them, but it would be great for them to give them other individuals as well, just so that they know that we have that additional support for them and they're not feeling as though they're out there in la-la land trying to, you know, teach the courses by themselves, that they know they have the support from Ottawa.
Yeah, and that's what the hope is. I think Andrea's done a great job of bringing everyone into the fold and understanding that we're here to help. And then she has divvied out to the four of us a group that we're supposed to be there to help with. So,
George?
Yeah, we can get there. Yeah, Jerry.
You and I did have a chat, and I remember. I think the situation. I actually emailed Andrea, and then she reminded me that you were my mentor, and then because I had completely forgotten about that, but you know, probably sometime last year I think I did get information about that but forgot. So when she did that, it was like, oh, that's right, I do have a mentor, and you were very helpful, so I appreciate that.
Yeah. Okay, well, that gives me quite a bit to add. to the discussion for that piece. Okay, that is pretty much it. Is anybody got anything else they would like to share before we go? Parting words of wisdom?
I would just like to add that I'm feeling much more connected just having this Zoom chat, whatever we call it. But it's making me feel more connected, and I think I need to reach out more. But if we could do something like this, you know, like every now and then or whatever, I think that's really great. And plus, I get to meet other teachers that I probably otherwise wouldn't get to meet, and I get to hear more great ideas from Lisa, which is always fun. So yeah, I think this is a kind of a nice way to connect, and it doesn't have to be every week, but now and then I think we could keep it going. I think it'd look great.
Yeah, I think we have 2 more upcoming similar training type things, and to be honest, Karen and I and the rest of the faculty development group are always open to, if you all have a topic that you all would like to do a training on or anything like that. I know we have a couple of adjuncts getting ready to do one, I think in August, I think is when it is. And so that'll be interesting. So if you have any ideas, feel free to contact us directly or via Andrea, however you proceed. The message will get to us. But yeah, that's the main thing that we would like to do is get more of these on the calendar. And yeah.
George, I'd offer a suggestion too, just so that we sort of walk the talk. If at some upcoming session we do this and collaborate instead of in Zoom.
Oh. Yeah, we could do that.
We all get to know what it feels like to be a student in that system or a participant in that system.
Yeah, Kristen Moore, Dr. Moore is going to be doing one later this year, so maybe we'll make her do it.
I agree. I really enjoy being able to get together. I do like seeing everybody when we do share our screens, but I really like to have this time together, and I think it's a great idea to have them a little bit more consistently, and then also to bring in different speakers and different topics, based on what all of us would like to share, as long as it's focusing on online teaching and benefiting our students and our faculty, and how we can, constantly be making improvements. And it's always fun to share best practices and have that sense of collaborating with each other. And I do agree, it's a great idea to use Collaborate. We won't be able to see each other if I recall correctly, but maybe the newer version allows us to do that.
Oh yeah.
But it would be great practice, I think.
The new version is very much like Zoom.
Yep.
You'll definitely.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then I am going to stop the